What's up everyone, my name is Abby, I like to read, and this video is very late. So we are now in the month of November, and I never did my October or my September wrap up. So I'm gonna combine those two, and this is going to be my very late September and October reading wrap up. I read a total of 6 books in the month of September, and the first book I read was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is about a girl named Poppy who is like the chosen one. She is called the Maiden in this world, and there are these people called the Ascended, and she is destined for some great things. And stuff happens, and things occur. But it makes sense. I'm so bad at giving summaries, but I really enjoyed this book. I actually flew through it. I'm currently reading the second book, and it is taking me a very long time. I think it's just because I'm not really in the mood to read it, not because it's a bad book. But I really enjoyed this one, and I ended up giving it 9 out of 10 stars. I love Jennifer L. Armentrout. I definitely recommend her for like paranormal romance-ish books, but like more YA. But this is her, I don't know if it's her first, I guess it is her kind of first adult fantasy-ish type book. And a lot of people kind of say that you should read this if you're a fan of Sarah J. Maas books, and I thought it was really good. The next book I read was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Marin. I ended up giving this book 8 out of 10 stars. It took me a while to get into it. I actually stopped reading this book so that I could read From Blood and Ash, so that's why I finished that one first. It just took me a while to get into it, but I think I read the second half of this book within a day. The end, it really picked up. I really enjoyed the ending. I have the sequel, Blood and Honey, but I'm not sure when I'll get around to it. I think it is definitely an 8 out of a 10 star read for me because I liked it, but 2 months later, I don't remember anything that happened. So obviously it didn't stick in my head. I know there's a girl named Lou, and she is a witch, and then there's a boy named Reed. There it is, Reed. And he is what is it called? I don't know what it's called, but he's like in the church. And the church does not get along with the witches, and they're enemies. And they have to team up. It's basically a forced lover enemies to lovers. So they're enemies, but they're forced to be lovers. Or not be lovers, they're forced into a marriage, and then they then become lovers. So I thought it was pretty okay. You know, there's so much hype around this book, and I didn't get that hype exactly, but I still thought it was an okay read. The next book I read was The Eternity Cure by Julie Kagawa. This is the sequel to The Immortal Rules. And I gave this book 6 out of 10 stars. I really liked the first one. It is about vampires, this gruesome world, like post-apocalyptic kind of like plague virus, basically too close to home, where this sickness has been going around. And this is the second book, and not a lot happened really at all. It was just they went on a journey. Most of it was on the road, on their journey. And I just thought it was kind of boring, so I gave this book 6 out of 10 stars. The next book, I actually listened to this on an audiobook. I do have the physical book. I've had this for a while. I actually read this probably around when it first came out. When was that? It came out in 2012, and I read it in 2015. So I guess not when it first came out, but a couple years after. And I remember I have the second book too, but I just never read that. And I don't remember what happened, so I was going to reread it, but for some reason I just couldn't get into it, so I decided to listen to the audiobook, and I like that a lot better. I gave this book 8 out of 10 stars. It was okay. Not my favorites. I definitely enjoyed listening to it better, but I'm currently listening to the second one, and it's really not as good. But yeah, I mean, this book is part of the Grisha universe, and I've heard that Six of Crows is a lot better, so I want to get to that one. Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to get through this series to get to the other books in that universe. The next book I read was The Dark Calling by Kresley Cole. This is the, I believe, 5th book in the Arcana Chronicles. And I gave this 6 out of 10 stars. This series is really just kind of going downhill. It's, honestly, it's like a teen high school drama if they were in like an apocalyptic world. It's just this typical teen drama keeps happening, and it's not necessary. I really wish that this was more focused around the tarot cards, because it's a really cool concept where every couple of centuries there is an apocalyptic event, and these kids who are based off of different tarot cards or the main arcana are then battling to the death, and whoever survives is immortal and lives on to the next battle and has their memories. All the other ones all forget. But they add this stupid drama and stupid love triangle, and it takes away from that really cool concept, and it just makes it full of drama, unnecessary drama. And by the we're in the 5th book, and she still has not chosen in the love triangle, and that drives me insane. She just needs to choose a boy. At this point, it's like, you don't deserve either of them. Like, seriously, girl, just figure it out. And I was originally supposed to finish this series this year, but then I figured out that the last book says it's supposed to come out this year, but there's no actual date. It just says 2020. So it's November. I don't think it's gonna happen this year, but I don't know. Maybe it'll come out. Am I gonna be really sad if it never comes out? Probably not. Will I read it if it comes out? Yes, because I want to know who she chooses. If she doesn't choose a boy by the last book, I will have wasted my time during this whole series. The last book that I read in September is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I also listened to this on audiobook, but I love this series so much that I went ahead and picked it up on hard copy. There's a little story about this that I'll tell in a minute. Not yet. I ended up giving this book 9 out of 10 stars. I loved this series so much. It is about a girl named Laura, and she is a princess, but she has been trained as a spy, and she has been married off to the prince to another kingdom, and basically it's like a trap. It's a trap. She has infiltrated their country, and she's going to find a way to take them down. And it is a hate to love romance, hate to love to hate to love, and it's amazing. I loved this book so much. I didn't realize it was so small. I think it's only 300 something pages. Yeah, like 340. The audiobook just made it seem like it was so long because there was just so much world building and character development, and I really enjoyed it, so I gave it 9 out of 10 stars. So those were all the books that I read in September. So now on to the books in October. The first book that I finished, I didn't read this in October. I think I've been reading it for a while, but I finally finished it. And that is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I'm rereading this series, and I am tabbing and also like underlining my favorite quotes in this book. And I originally read this book when it came out, which I think was maybe after Heir of Fire. I don't know if that's true. It came out after like a couple books in the series had already been out, even though the stories are like a prequel. And it was definitely a different perspective going into this series, reading this first. It's like a different reading experience. And I really liked it. I think, I can't say much about it or it'll spoil it, but there are certain characters that I really liked in this book, and I can't say much more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but I really liked reading this book first before I started Throne of Glass, and I'm really excited to finish that series because it's my favorite series, and I'm really going to enjoy rereading it. And I gave this 9 out of 10 stars. The next book in October, this is the other book that I listened to an audiobook but then also bought. So this is the sequel to The Bridge Kingdom. This is The Traitor Queen by Danielle L. Jensen. So if you're wondering why this has this thing here, it's because I didn't realize that these were very much different sizes, which did not make me happy. And it just drove me crazy looking at it on my shelf. So I went ahead and added this little paper thing here and then colored it so that when I'm looking at them on my shelf, they're the same height now, because it just drove me insane looking at them like this. So it's technically a duology, but there is another, like, I guess it's a spin-off book that is about a different character that is in this series. And I've decided that if that book is the size of this and not the bigger one, then I'm gonna, like, sell these and then buy the paperbacks, because the paperbacks are the same size. I don't know why these are not the same size, but I can't keep doing this to my books. Like, I can't. But I gave this book 9 out of 10 stars. Once again, really enjoyed it. I love the characters in this book. They're so lovable, and then also hateable, because, you know, they're evil, but then also good, and, beautiful. I highly, highly, highly recommend this duology, I guess. The next book that I read was Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles. The first one is Cinder. This is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but it's a sci-fi. It's really cool. I love the concept of this series. The first one is based off of Cinderella. This one's Little Red Riding Hood. And I love the sci-fi elements with, like, there's cyborg and there's, like, spaceships, and it's great. And I gave this book 8.5 out of 10 stars. The next book in October I actually listened to on Audible, and it is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. One of those. And this is the first book in the Bargainer series. This is more of an, like, adult read. There is some adult content in this book. Same as the next one that I'm about to talk about. But this book is really good. Also a cool concept. It's about a girl named Calypso, and she is a siren, and when she was a teenager, she made a bunch of bargains with a guy called the Bargainer, who basically you can ask for things, I guess, like, kind of like wishes, and he will give them to you, but you now owe him something, so he can come back and collect his debt at any time. And she's an adult now, and the Bargainer is back, and he is going to collect all of his debts. And it was really good. I listened to this once again while I was at work, and it was pretty entertaining, and yeah, I gave this 8 out of 10 stars. The next book I listened to was Radiance. This is by Grace Draven, and this is also one of those, like, arranged marriage books. So basically, Ildiko is the niece of the king, and she is in this arranged marriage with Brishan, who is the prince of the Kai, which are, like, I guess a different race? I don't know. They're different than humans, and both species or races think that the other is, like, disgusting and so gross just because, like, it's not what they're used to, so they don't find them attractive. And so they have an arranged marriage. And what I love about this, like, romance and relationship is that it's not necessarily hate to love. It's more, like, dislike because I don't really know you and I've been taught to dislike you to love, and really more like friends to lovers. They develop a friendship really, really early on in the book, and I just loved seeing that friendship and also, like, mutual respect for one another, instead of just, like, hating each other and then, like, all of a sudden love. They really, really developed from, like, they had that solid friendship background, and I really loved watching that. I gave this book 8 out of 10 stars. I have a lot of that. 8 out of 10 stars. It's very common these past few months. The last book that I listened to on audiobook is The Brightest Night by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the third book in the Origin series, which is a spinoff to the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And I really enjoyed this book. I love all of her books. I don't know. I just thought it was really good. I gave it 9 out of 10 stars. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's the third book. But basically, we're following one of the characters from the Lux series. One of, like, the side characters, Luke. I guess I'll just say it. We're following Luke and his journey with Evie. And the last book that I read in October was a reread, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I am rereading this series in order to prepare for A Court of Silver Flames, which is the spin-off book from a different perspective. And it was really hard. I really had to not base my rating off of one character in here that I know that I hate now. Going into reading it the first time, I did not hate this character. But after reading the next 2 books, if you've read the series, you will know. You will know. It's so interesting how you can reread a book and have just a completely different perspective just based on knowing what happens in the rest of the series. So it was really challenging getting through this book and through scenes. I'm like, I know what's gonna happen next. I know it, and I don't like it. But still, I really did enjoy this book. I gave it 9 out of 10 stars. I like this series. It's pretty good. I don't know if I like it as much as the Throne of Glass series, but I read that one first, so I feel like I'm kind of biased towards it because it was my first Sarah J. Maas series. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited to read the rest of the series. So that was my wrap up for September and October. I'm sorry that this wrap up is late. I'm sure that it's not even relevant anymore. So if you made it to the end, thank you. You are a saint. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what did you think of them. Did you read books in September and October, even though it's so in the past? That's so last month. Let me know what your favorite book was that you read. Subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Let me know down. Why do I never get that right? Why? Ellie. Nope, that's not her name. Ellie is not her name. How dare I say I like this book and I don't even know her name? Oh no!